This is bromine. It's chemically very similar to chlorine, except chlorine's a gas and bromine's a liquid. It also lets off a lot of nasty orange vapor, and this is why I sealed it in glass. Bromine's really dense, and it's more than 3 times as dense as water, and this makes its vapor really heavy. Bromine's notoriously difficult to store, and if I just put it all back into a bottle or something, it would damage everything around it. So I have to seal it again in a glass ampule that I made from a test tube. Here I have some calcium carbide that I bought 4 years ago and never used. It kind of just looks like a bunch of rocks, but it's actually kind of dangerous. This is because it can react with water to make acetylene gas, which is really flammable. What I have here just looks like a bunch of generic metal chunks. However, what I think is cool is that this is actually pure calcium. I've always thought it was weird to think of calcium as a metal, but I mean, it is. It's also pretty sensitive to air and moisture, which is why it's safely stored and protected in this glass ampule. But anyway, now that the calcium is free, there's something I've been really wanting to try with it. So I collected a small amount of it, and now I just want to drop it into some water. It all started reacting almost immediately and turning into calcium hydroxide, which was making the water white. On top of this, though, it was also releasing flammable hydrogen gas, and I really like the little popping sounds. This is arsenic. Arsenic's an element and it's classified as a metalloid, which means that it has properties that are between a metal and a non-metal. It can sometimes be found in its pure form like this, but it's usually found combined with something else, like sulfur and iron. Arsenic's very poisonous, and historically, it was pretty common to use it to kill people. People usually used arsenic trioxide, though, because it was sold as a rat poison, and it was the easiest form to get a hold of. Today, I'm going to be doing something that may or may not destroy my microwave. To do this, all I need is to light a match and cover it with a beaker. Then, I'll punch in 60 seconds and start cooking it. At first, it doesn't look like much is happening, but then it suddenly starts doing something kind of scary. This is all plasma, and it's basically just super hot, ionized gas. It's somewhat similar to fire, but much hotter and way more ionized. The moment the microwave turns off, it all disappears. So for no reason, I've decided to make some piranha solution, which is probably one of the angriest liquids that you can make in the lab. To do this, I just have to start with some concentrated sulfuric acid and then carefully add 30% hydrogen peroxide. It's important that I do this very carefully and to never add too much peroxide because it can actually become explosive. It also gets really hot, and this mixture is able to destroy most organic things. I always find it fun to add stuff like paper to it because it just instantly turns it into carbon and then it vaporizes it into CO2 gas. In the past, I've also done it with things like a fortune cookie, and it was able to completely destroy it in seconds. I also did it on a much larger scale, and I was able to dissolve an entire hot dog, which was kind of terrifying. A while ago, I bought this little tube on the internet, and I think it's finally time to crack it open. Inside of it, besides all the sand, is some nice cesium metal. This is very similar to potassium or sodium, but it's even more reactive. It's kept in this glass ampule to protect it from air, and having it break open could be really dangerous. What's interesting, though, is what happens if I hold it for about 20 seconds. Just the heat from my hand was enough to melt it, and I now have some slightly golden, liquid metal. The melting point of cesium is only about 28.5 C, or 83 Fahrenheit. This makes it extremely close, but not quite a liquid at room temperature. If I hold it for another minute or so, I can completely liquefy it. I just have to be really careful though, because dropping it in its liquid form would be an absolute disaster.